As we trek across the barren wasteland, traveling west from Diamond City, we eventually come to an old rusty fence, which looks to have served as the perimeter for some kind of scrapyard before the bombs dropped. Passing through the fence, however, we realize that this is the location of Vault 81. Near the entrance of the vault are several wooden huts, none of which contain anything of interest, as well as what appears to be some kind of Vault-Tec portable office space with some filing cabinets, a destroyed terminal, a mattress, and a shelf with a bottle of Nuka-Cola. Heading inside the vault, we find a desk with the official Blast Radius board game sitting on top. Next to a pre-war console are the controls for the vault's door. We are greeted by a rather unfriendly voice coming through the speakers.
Hold it right there. Vault 81 security. I don't know where you got your hands on a working Pip-Boy, but you better start talking.
Vault 81. You're still up and running?
Yeah. Pretty good observation there, genius. Now about that Pip-Boy.
I got it in Vault 111.
Vault 111? Haven't heard of that one yet. And what sort of business are you looking to take care of here in 81?
I'm just a traveler. I thought I'd take a look around.
Is that so? And you expect me to believe that? Oh, Overseer.
Who is it, Edwards?
Ma'am, some new Commonwealth traveler. Not one of our usual traders.
Well, if someone wants in, they can earn it like everyone else. Let me speak to them. Sorry about that. Officer Edwards here was just doing his job. I'm sure you can understand our need for caution. For newcomers, we like to operate on exchange. You help us, we help you.
Depends. I need more details.
Fair enough. Fusion cores. 3, to be exact. You get the fusion cores. We grant the access.
There are a couple of different ways you can get inside of Vault 81. You can either pass a speech check to get the Overseer to open the doors, or you can trade 3 fusion cores. If you don't have any in your inventory, then obviously you have to go back out into the Commonwealth and collect them, but since I already had some extra fusion cores on me, I decided to agree to the trade.
I already have the fusion cores you need.
Really? Well then, I suppose I should say welcome. I'll be down to meet you at the entrance.
Orange lights begin to flash and the vault door slowly opens. A bridge extends forward, creating a catwalk leading to the inside. Underneath the bright lights, we can see the silhouettes of the vault dwellers, waiting to greet their unexpected guests from out in the Commonwealth. Once inside, we see that one of the silhouettes was none other than the vault's overseer, Gwen McNamara.
Another day,
Think I
another
don't know
double
that?
shift.
Just do the best
I
with
hear
what you
ya.
can. That's
Maybe
all
you
I'm
could
asking.
see about working in Dr.
I'll
Benson's
see what I
lab
can do.
again.
But
Yeah,
you and I
maybe.
both know we can't
No
keep
way
going
I
on
see
like
any
this.
more
Sorry about that. As you'll soon see, we have a few maintenance projects underway. Gwen McNamara, Overseer. Welcome to Vault 81. Here, we pride ourselves on having maintained a successful vault over these past 2 centuries. We'd like to be completely self-sufficient, but there are certain resources we can't provide ourselves.
Why do you keep yourself so isolated?
Why not? We have warm beds, clean clothes, a solid roof over our heads. Our food and water are radiation-free. We don't deal with the elements or raiders. We're safe here. And for some, that safety and stability is what counts.
Aren't you curious about the Commonwealth and what it has to offer?
Of course. But my duty is to these people and keeping them safe. We receive a few select traders often enough to stay well informed. That's why I like to use a give-and-take system. If outsiders are willing to help us, we're willing to help them. Speaking of, if you're ready, I can take those fusion cores from you.
Here you go. I'm sure you'll put them to good use.
I won't, but Dr. Pensky certainly will. Now, I have work to do. Most everyone here is very friendly with Commonwealth visitors. Although that power armor may make a few people nervous. If you need anything else, I'll be in my office.
We then meet a vault dweller named Neil, who explains to us that while he would love to travel out into the Commonwealth and explore the wasteland, he just can't bring himself to leave the safety of Vault 81.
Power armor? There's something you don't see every day. Don't say anything, but man, I'd love to be out there.
If you want to leave, why don't you just go?
Wish it was that easy. It's scary leaving the vault. And the Commonwealth? It's also unpredictable.
It takes some preparation. I'd learn how to use a gun and be ready to use it before I went out there.
I've never even touched a gun. Now, I can't even say if our security has seen any real combat. But with the hours we're working these days, I'm not even sure where I'd find the time to practice.
Why the long hours?
We're just making sure this roof over our heads doesn't cave in on us. They say it's all the moving parts that have us working round the clock these days. Structurally, I guess 81 is still pretty sound. Vault-Tec sure knew what they were doing when they set these places up. Well, I don't want to keep you, and I gotta get back to work. Maybe I'll see you around.
Another vault dweller we meet immediately after entering the vault is Miranda, who incidentally is much less pleased to see us than Neil was.
Another outsider? What'd they let you in for?
What's with the attitude?
I don't trust outsiders. We didn't need your help before, we don't need it now. The Overseer never should have opened up the vault to your kind.
What do you have against outsiders?
All outsiders do is take advantage of you. You're nothing but selfish animals.
How do you know? Did something happen?
Yeah, you could say that. I met a girl from the outside. Said she was going to take me away from all this. I gave her all my money so she could find us a place to live out there. I don't hear from her in months, till a passing trader mentioned she saw her with some man in Diamond City. You outsiders are nothing but liars, only looking out for yourselves.
Well, that was rude. Nice chatting with you, Miranda. After passing through the vault screening system, we turn a corner to see a cat roaming the grounds, who we later learn belongs to a young vault dweller named Aaron. We then have a choice between continuing down the hallway towards security, or taking the elevator down into the lower levels of the vault. We can start by exploring the security room, but there's really nothing here other than some loot that's property of Vault 81, and Officer Edwards, who first greeted us over the intercom. So now we can go back down the hallway to the elevator and use it to reach the lower levels of Vault 81.
I heard he'll pay cash if you got him.
After stepping out of the elevator and observing some Vault-Tec boxes sitting on a shelf, a young boy appears and captures our attention.
Hey, mister, where are you going?
We can follow him down a flight of stairs, past a security guard and into the residential area of the vault, where he then stops in front of a classroom to tell us about his desire to one day explore the Commonwealth.
Someday, I'm gonna check out the Commonwealth, if my grand lets me.
The classroom only has 4 students in it, which is odd because there are 12 desks. Are these just extras? Or have the remaining 8 students decided to play hooky today? Nevertheless, the teacher is still giving a lecture, which we unintentionally interrupt with our presence.
Whoa! A real-life Commonwealth person. You dress funny.
We can then turn to the teacher, whose name is Katie, and introduce ourselves.
Hey there.
Oh, you're that new traveler. You must have had so many adventures out in the Commonwealth.
I've had a few interesting moments.
Stop being so modest. My kids would love to hear about anything you've done out in the Commonwealth. Would you mind talking to them and sharing one of your experiences?
I'd be glad to talk to them.
Marvelous. Stop by whenever class is in session. I'll just stop what I'm doing and turn the class over to you.
This brief conversation starts the quest Short Stories, which requires us to do nothing more than answer the students' questions about life out in the Commonwealth. I actually ended up doing this quest after exploring the vault a bit more, but I'll go ahead and show you what happened during my playthrough now.
Deathclaws are very dangerous. It was a tough fight.
How did you beat it?
Raiders surrounded the museum where my friend Preston was holed up. I had to kill them all with my bare hands.
Just your bare hands? Really?
Preston showed me where to find some power armor I could fix.
Power armor! Wow.
I wasn't ready when the Deathclaw crawled out. Good thing I had that power armor.
That sounds scary.
1 shot in each eye and 1 in the forehead took care of that Deathclaw.
Wow. You must be a good shot.
Thank you so much for that story. Children, say thank you.
Thank you.
And we have a thank you gift for you. Here.
For sharing our stories with the class, we are rewarded with a copy of Grognuk the Barbarian, which slightly increases the damage we put out when we get a critical hit with an unarmed or melee attack. After exiting the classroom, we can take a right, followed immediately by another right, where we find a door underneath a sign that reads Reactor. After passing through that door followed by another, we find ourselves in a large room with 2 reactors stretching from the floor to the ceiling. On the other side of the room, we find 2 vault dwellers finishing up what appeared to be a rather intense conversation.
Get caught. Then you won't have the choice to leave because the Overseer will make it for you. Hey, outsider. Do me a favor. If my good-for-nothing brother asks you for Jet, tell him to buzz off.
Who's your brother?
His name's Bobby, and he's my poor excuse for a twin, so you can get a good idea of what he looks like. Look, he's a junkie, but he's getting careless. If he gets caught, we're both in trouble. And as much as I'd like to leave this canned paradise, that's not how I want to go.
You should talk to him. Let him know he's screwing up.
Believe me, I have. It's not as easy as it sounds. Now I admit, I've got my own share of the blame here. Bobby gets his chems from me, and I keep him on a short leash. But not anymore. I'm cutting off his useless ass.
Good. That's the first step to helping your brother.
Should have done it a long time ago. But things ain't easy around here.
So Tina's brother Bobby is addicted to chems, and even though Tina doesn't approve, she still plays the role of Bobby's official supplier. Looks like Vault 81 has its fair share of drama. Underneath the stairs is one of those Vault-Tec pods like we saw back outside near the entrance. Inside, we find the old Overseer's terminal, which requires a master-level unlock to access. Once we're hacked into the terminal, we can start by reading the entry titled Prime Directive. The mission of Vault 81 is to research infectious diseases and antibodies, with particular attention paid to potential mutations in a climate of heavy radiation. Clinical trials are a vital part of Vault 81's mission. Trials will be performed in 3 stages. Stage 1 trials are to be conducted in Petri dish cultures. Stage 2 trials are to be performed on the colony of Heterocephalus glaber specimens furnished by Vault-Tec. Stage 3 trials may be performed on the residential population of Vault 81. Scientific staff will be restricted to the hermetically sealed research area. This measure reduces the chance of cross-contamination between residential and scientific staff populations. The Overseer will have communication capabilities, but no other members of the residential population are to be made aware of the Prime Directive. So Vault-Tec had originally planned on exposing the residents of Vault 81 to a number of infectious diseases for research purposes. But this doesn't make any sense. The residents we've met so far all seem to be perfectly healthy. It just doesn't add up. Maybe we can find more information in the remaining logs. The entry titled Admission Protocol reads, as outlined in the Vault-Tec Operations Handbook, all staff members of Vault 81 will be required to participate in mandatory drills held on-site at the discretion of the Overseer and Vault-Tec administration. Admission drills are a requirement on all beta alert days, as indicated by the Vault-Tec early warning system. In the event of an actual alpha alert, Vault 81 residents will be admitted into the vault by Overseer staff. All scientific staff should report to their workstations immediately, avoiding contact with general population, especially those whom they know personally. If necessary, Overseer should remind staff of their confidentiality status. All residents should be admitted in an orderly fashion and given the approved welcome address in the common area atrium by the Overseer. The Overseer should then use this terminal to confer privately with the head of the science staff, by now safely sealed in the research area. We now move on from the admission protocol to the evacuation protocol, which reads, Vault 81 is not to be evacuated under any circumstances except a direct all-clear command from Vault-Tec Central HQ. Research reports should be archived on the primary mainframe. Chemical compounds and other physical materials may be deposited in the marked receptacle, only by the Overseer, and only after a successful Stage 3 trial phase. In the event of a Vault-Tec ordered evacuation, Overseer must be prepared to dispose of residential population by incineration. Propellant nozzles are pre-installed in all residential living quarters to avoid contamination with outside population. This disposal is at the discretion of the Overseer unless specifically mandated as part of the Vault-Tec evacuation order. The truth has now been revealed. The residents of Vault 81 were originally intended to be lab rats, exposed to a number of different diseases for research purposes, and then incinerated in the event of a vault evacuation. How could anyone be so cruel? How could anyone be so cruel? The terminal gives us access to a number of entries from the Vault's original Overseer, a woman by the name of Olivetti, who initially appeared to be skeptical of Vault-Tec's experiment, but open to the idea of it nonetheless. Maybe there's more to this than I'm seeing, she writes, adding that she's not going to jump to any conclusions. She writes one log about how shocked she is that the researchers are so willing to put up with all of the mandated drills, and then another with her reaction to her first full briefing. It's much worse than I thought, she writes. I was finally giving my full briefing today. Not only is Vault-Tec asking us to do clinical trials on humans, they've got some serious backers in the government. I can't just blow the whistle on all this. I've seen the admission roster. There are good people planning to live in Vault 81, and I've little doubt the vaults will come into use eventually. I won't reward the trust of these people by treating them like guinea pigs. I feel trapped. I don't know what to do. So Olivetti obviously was very concerned with what Vault-Tec planned on doing to the Vault's residents, but felt that she had nowhere to turn since the experiment had backers within the government. Oh, this does not look good. One of Olivetti's entries, titled "The Day," reads, "It's done. I got the call early this morning. Another beta drill. It's always Rosario who has to call." Her voice was trembling, and she couldn't get off the phone soon enough. She knew. Sure enough, the warning was upgraded within a few hours, and the news was reporting confirmed launches soon after that. I made a decision. I deliberately sabotaged the phone list. Such a simple thing, but it meant that none of the science staff received a notification about the drill. The residents are beginning to show up, and we'll have our hands busy admitting everyone. The next entry is regarding the science staff. I'm no criminal mastermind. Clearing the phone list prevented most of the science staff from showing up, but 3 still made it in. Flint and Collins are both my age and live in the Fens. They had time to get here with the general population. Burrow is just an overachiever and came by in the morning just to see if there would be a drill today. Figures. They've reported to the research area. The vault protocols are engaged automatically and sealed them in. They're already busy with their work, especially since there are only 3 of them. Aha, I see. Olivetti worked undercover to dismantle Vault-Tec's experiment by sabotaging the phone lines on the day the bombs dropped. All but 3 scientists never received the notification to report to the vault, and therefore the experiments had to be carried out by a much smaller team than Vault-Tec had originally planned. The next log, titled "They Suspect," reads, Burrow and Flint are getting restless in there. Collins and that robot, he's calling her Curie now, are keeping the mood relatively steady, but I think they already suspect that I have no intention of allowing them to implement a Stage 3 trial. Not sure what to do. They've got access to the delivery nozzles. If they choose to, they'll be able to infect the population with whatever they want. Need to keep them calm. Lastly, in her final entry, we learn that the Overseer once again sabotaged Vault-Tec's experiment by tampering with the delivery nozzles, thus making it impossible for the scientists to successfully carry out Phase 3 on the Vault's residents. Cutting off communication is a cowardly thing to do, but what options do I have? They'll have food and water in there as long as they need. I just can't let them go through with human trials for God knows what Vault-Tec plans to do with their research. I only hope that somehow they can forgive me and live out their years in peace over there. But live out their lives in peace over where? We know that these scientists were located within the vault along with the rest of the residents, but it seems as though Olivetti sealed them off somewhere to keep them isolated. She knew that this wouldn't kill them because there was enough food and water to keep them alive for the rest of their lives. But with the delivery nozzles sabotaged and the scientists sealed away somewhere, the implementation of Phase 3 became impossible. This is why all of the residents inside of Vault 81 appear to be so healthy. They were never exposed to the diseases as Vault-Tec had originally planned. In the Research Com Records section of the terminal, we find several entries containing correspondence between Olivetti and the scientists. In these back-and-forth conversations, Olivetti routinely lies to the scientists, doing everything in her power to prevent them from reaching Phase 3 of the experiment. The significance of these lies cannot be overstated. They saved the residents from a rather gruesome fate, and ultimately made Vault 81 what it is today, over 2 centuries later. Next to the terminal, we find a note written by one of the Vault's technicians, which reads, "Nobody can get into Overseer Olivetti's terminal. The password might be corrupted. I can't make sense of this thing, and I finally convinced the Overseer to let it go and allow me to set up a new terminal. Olivetti probably was hardly even using the thing anymore. I doubt there's anything important on it." Oh, how wrong this technician was. After a bit more exploration, we see that Vault 81 has a lot more services and amenities than originally meets the eye, including a room dedicated to growing crops, a barber shop where we meet a rather persistent hairstylist named Horatio.
They say Holt is running around on his wife. Apparently, he and Tina DeLuca are secretly getting together. But never mind about them. Your hair is a disaster. You have to let me fix it.
A cafeteria where we meet Maria Somerset and her husband Mark, and a depot where we meet a tough talker named Holt and a vendor named Alexis Combs.
Yeah? Well, screw you too. We can take care of ourselves here in 81. We don't need to be letting in every stray traveler that comes our way.
If we return to the classroom, we find Alexis's daughter sitting at her desk with a special favor to ask of us.
Hey, sweetie.
Excuse me, mister. Have you seen my cat?
Ash is gone?
What happened?
He scratched me. And I yelled at him to go away. I didn't mean forever, though. His name is Ashes, and he's the best cat in the whole world.
No, I haven't seen your cat.
Would you go look for him? His name is Ashes. He's probably scared and lonely.
Where do you think he may have gone?
Not far. He'd be terrified. I'm sure if there's anywhere nearby to hide, you'll find him.
I'll find him for you.
Thank you! His name is Ashes. He's the sweetest little gray cat. I just want him to come home.
This starts the quest, Hear Kitty Kitty, which requires us to do nothing more than to go out into the Commonwealth, follow a dirt path running alongside Chestnut Hillock Reservoir, find Aaron's cat Ashes resting near the docks, and then tell it to go back to its owner.
Ashes, go home. Aaron misses you.
We can follow the cat all the way back inside the vault, down the elevator, which is odd, I wasn't aware that felines knew how to operate elevators, and back to Aaron, who was waiting with her mom in the depot.
Hi there.
So now they got us cooped up in here to watch Aaron.
Found him!
It's ridiculous.
Thanks, mister.
After exiting the depot, I strangely came into contact with Preston Garvey. I'm not exactly sure where he came from, or whether this was part of the game's design, or just some kind of a glitch. I followed him into the classroom, where he stood for the entire rest of my time inside of Vault 81. I'll, see you around, Preston. Maybe get some sleep. After stepping out of the classroom, we can turn left and head down the stairs, where we find the Vault's clinic. Inside, a rather serious conversation appears to be taking place between Bobby DeLuca, Dr. Pensky, and Dr. Forsyth.
Until I know what he's infected with.
Dr. Forsyth.
Not now, Bobby. And you, stranger, will have to wait your turn. We have an emergency here. Austin got bitten by a mole rat. Isn't that enough, Jacob? There can't be that many mole rat diseases or toxins.
Rachel is examining the mole rat. Hopefully she'll find something. But these aren't ordinary mole rats. Who knows what kind of diseases they are carrying? Because he's just a child, it's affecting him more severely.
Dr. Forsyth, please.
think I found something that might help Austin.
Bobby!
Hold on, Priscilla. What is it, Bobby?
Well, you know that door Austin found? He found it because of me. I keep my private things in there. He saw me get them.
You mean your chems?
Get to the point, Bobby. What did you find in that place?
It's like a whole extra vault in there, but half ruined and caved in. There was this terminal there, so I started poking around in it. There were some notes and stuff about using mole rats to grow viruses. But they also said that they used them to make vaccines and treatments.
A secret vault. Good Lord, I've never heard of such a thing.
Bobby, you're a genius. A junkie genius. There might be a cure for whatever Austin got from that mole rat somewhere in that place.
Bobby.
You there. How would you like to do Vault 81 a favor and possibly save my boy's life?
I would be glad to help.
I was hoping I could count on you. Bobby here will show you where he keeps his secret stash. There is a chance that somewhere in there is a cure for Austin. If you find it, bring it to Dr. Forsyth. And for Austin's sake, please hurry.
Follow me.
With that, we start the quest Hole in the Wall and set out to retrieve this mysterious cure for Dr. Penske's son, Austin, who has fallen ill after being bit by an infected mole rat. We follow Bobby back up the stairs and into the reactor room, where he eventually stops at a wall near the Vault-Tec pod that contains the old Overseer's terminal. He gives the wall a kick, and like something straight out of the Harry Potter films, a hidden door is exposed. Bobby steps aside. Evidently, he has no interest in going in and retrieving the cure for Austin with us. We step through the door and find ourselves in the secret Vault 81. This is a far different scene than the other parts of the vault we've explored thus far. This place looks dark, run down, and dangerous. The ground is littered with piles of dirt and twisted metal. There's a set of stairs up ahead, but we're first going to turn right and go down a short hallway. We can then turn left and move through a hole in the wall into what used to be someone's living quarters. There's a knocked over chair and papers scattered across the floor. On a desk sitting in the corner is a bottle of Nuka-Cola, a pack of cigarettes, and some pre-war money. On a second desk located on the other side of the room is some purified water, some turpentine, and more notes. Whoever lived here must have been doing a lot of work. After heading back down the hallway and up the stairs, we get attacked by a Vault 81 mole rat. Something tells me that's not the last mole rat we'll run into down here. Once we're back on the upper level, we can follow the catwalk east until we come to another hole in the wall on our left. Inside the room is nothing but a bunk bed, some more notes resting on a table, and a terminal on a desk to the west. Mole rat breeders. We finally got the breeding program stabilized. As earlier reports indicated, the mole rats show unusual degrees of aggression in captivity. This may be due to the growth hormones. Recent generations seem more docile, although some of the keepers are complaining that the lab animals are watching them, which is preposterous. Now it all makes sense. This must be the area of the vault where the scientists resided over 200 years ago. The same scientists that Olivetti sabotaged and cut off communication with. A second log entry on serum production reads, "We have created 197 distinct serums that can treat 36% of known viruses. This is a modest improvement from last year's 33% treatment rate. However, 11 of the serums account for 61% of the treatment results, which is encouraging. At this time, only 19% of serums have the potential to be mass-produced. We have tasked out latest robot lab assistant to find ways to synthesize more of them effectively." So the scientists modified a robot to help them with their research. This must be Curie, who we read about on the old Overseer's terminal. But where is Curie? And furthermore, where are the 3 scientists that Olivetti trapped down here? Surely they would be dead after 2 centuries, but we have yet to find any of their remains. Let's keep searching for answers. There's a second door to the north. We pass through it and take out our trusty Wazer rifle, ready to blast away more mole rats if it becomes necessary. Instead, we come under heavy fire from 2 machine gun turrets mounted on a ceiling. The turrets are destroyed, but our compass indicates that there are still enemies close by. We wait in silence, ready to pull the trigger. Turning to the left, we can pass through another doorway that leads into another living space. There's a desk with a broken terminal, a bunk bed, and a shelf with a few bins resting on it, but nothing worth looting. Therefore, we can continue west through another hole in the wall, and then through another doorway to the north. Boy, this is starting to get awfully confusing. Turning left, we find a pack of cigarettes resting on a bench and a novice-locked crate with some Rad-X and a metal bucket. Now that's just bizarre. Did one of these scientists really care about a metal bucket so much that they decided to lock it inside of a crate? We can make our way down a set of stairs, and after taking out another machine gun turret, we find ourselves in what appears to be some kind of cafeteria or break room. This must have been where the scientists conversed about all of the horrible experiments that they were conducting on the residents of Vault 81, all while enjoying a nice cup of coffee and a biscuit. Oh, how pleasant of a thought that one is. Incidentally, there's no good loot in here, so we keep moving. There's another door to our right immediately after exiting the break room, but it's just a bathroom. Standing in a pod against the wall to the east is a Protectron Watcher, which for whatever reason I decided to activate using a nearby terminal.
Got it.
Even though the Protectron wasn't a threat, I became annoyed when I realized that it was following me and decided to take it out. And moving on. We follow a dimly lit hallway into yet another section of Secret Vault 81, which consists of a ground level and multiple upper levels above our heads. There's a Vault 81 mole rat sticking halfway out of the ground. That's weird. But even though this one in particular was already dead, his brothers and sisters were still alive and angry as ever. Once we finally reach the top level, we round a corner to find an unlocked security door, but before we go through it, we hear voices coming in through some kind of speaker system.
Neither do I, Priscilla. Why him? He's just a boy. He's going to be just fine.
Where is that coming from? We pass through the security door and take out another mole rat, but the conversation continues.
Anyone other than yourself. Your daughter could get sick like Austin, and you're whining about spending time with your family?
I have things to do. We don't have to hide away anything.
You're so busy, Holt. You have so much to do. Please, explain to Erin why your needs are more important than her safety.
Just never mind.
Seems like we're listening in on an argument between Holt Combs and his wife Alexis regarding their daughter Erin, who apparently is not in the best of health. After the argument ends, we can access the depot observation terminal. The vault inhabitants have unexpectedly repurposed this room to be a kind of store for selling and repairing their possessions. It has allowed this observation port to record interactions between many of the vault citizens. Well, that makes sense. That's why we are able to listen in on Alexis and Holt's argument. This shop will become an important disease vector for spreading airborne Class B2 viruses. It will also be valuable for observing the effects of disease on social and economic relationships. This room will become a backup treatment location, along with the commissary. The primary will still be the clinic, under the assumption that severely ill patients will be taken there. Looks like the scientists welcome the creation of the depot with open arms. Not because it would encourage commerce within the vault, but because it would help diseases spread more quickly from person to person. But we know that Olivetti sabotaged the delivery system years ago. meaning that the depot was never used as a vector as the scientists originally intended it to be used as. But wait a minute, how do we explain Aaron falling ill? The rest of the Vault's residents all seem to be in perfect health. Everyone, that is, except for Austin. Has the virus already spread from Austin to Aaron? This would make perfect sense. There's only 4 children inside of Vault 81, meaning that all of the kids have probably developed a strong bond with one another and spend a lot of their free time together. Incidentally, Austin happens to sit right next to Aaron at school, making it plausible and even likely that he passed the virus along to her. If Aaron is now infected with a virus, then that would mean that everyone she comes into contact with would be at risk of becoming infected too, including her mother Alexis, her father Holt, and possibly even her cat Ashes. We already know that animals are susceptible to this disease. After all, that's how Austin got it in the first place. He was bit by a mole rat. We also know that Ashes escaped the vault not long ago, meaning that it's possible that the disease made its way out into the Commonwealth. The scientists may have died, but the viruses that they created continue to live on. We can continue down the hallway where we eventually find Jangles the Moon Monkey and a few bottles of Nuka Cherry to the south. After opening a second security gate, we get attacked by more Vault 81 mole rats.
No buts. This is for the good of the Vault. Pathogen spreading, Dr. Forsyth.
Yes.
How is Austin doing?
Not good. The infection has progressed quite rapidly. We need a way to stop it from spreading.
Let's hope that outsider pulls through and gets us secured.
After dealing with the mole rats, we can go down a flight of stairs to the south, where we once again are greeted by, you guessed it, more mole rats. We can open a door to the southwest and travel down a hallway into yet another large room with several cases and debris scattered across the floor. But with more mole rats coming our way, exploration is a bit difficult. There's a room to the south with a desk and some old cages inside. This must be where the scientists kept the mole rats that they were experimenting on. Unfortunately, it looks like the mole rats found a way out. Did the scientists not consider the fact that mole rats can burrow underground? Directly across from us is another room where we find a mole rat stuck in the ceiling. Apparently, he got tired of burrowing and just thought he'd hang out there for a little while. In the west corner of the room is a locker with some ammunition inside, as well as a filing cabinet with some pre-war money and cigarettes. Boy, for scientists looking to find a cure to all known diseases, these people sure did smoke a lot. Heading back out into the main room, we can head west and follow another flight of stairs to the upper level. Here we find more cages, and naturally, more mole rats. Heading inside a room to the south, we find a first aid kit hanging on the western wall, and a stealth boy resting on a table next to some old lab equipment. On a second table, we find the research comm terminal, which contains the same logs we read earlier on the old Overseer's terminal. This must be the terminal that the scientists used to communicate with Olivetti regarding their research. Heading north, we find another room that looks to have been another one of the scientists' living quarters, with a steamer trunk sitting on top of the bed. Inside one of the lockers on the other side of the room, we find a mini nuke. Why any of these scientists needed one of these things down here with them as they carried out their experiments is beyond me. Looping back around, we find a locked door that requires us to hack into a nearby expert-locked terminal to open. After opening the door, we can follow another small flight of stairs upwards and turn right, where we find 3 lockers lying face up on the ground. On top of each locker is a Vault-Tec lab coat, and inside, bones. There's only one possible explanation for this. These are the makeshift graves of the only 3 scientists that showed up just before the bombs dropped. Dr. Flint, Dr. Collins, and Dr. Burrow. We're not quite sure who is responsible for placing the bodies inside of these lockers, but at least they were properly put to rest, even if they did plan on committing evil acts in the name of science. After taking a few more steps to the east, we are interrupted by a French robot. That's right, a French robot inside of a sealed-off room.
Another stranger. Are you Vault-Tec security? I've waited so very patiently for you to arrive.
Who the heck are you?
I am a Contagions Vulnerability Robotic Infirmary Engineer, or CVR-IE. The human scientists call me Curie. Or more properly, they call me this when they were alive. I repeat, are you Vault-Tec security?
We can then lie and say,
Yes. Yes, I am.
Superb! I placed an emergency call so long ago. I was beginning to think something dreadful must have happened. I'm pleased to report I completed my primary duties 83 years ago. Thousands of pathogens were grown in the mole rat hosts. Then a single broad-spectrum cure was developed to treat them all. Very satisfying work for many decades. Now, please tell me you are authorized to release me from the lab.
and we can lie again.
I am so authorized. You are released.
Superb. I had almost given up all hope of leaving here. I'll open the door for you. Since you are a Vault-Tec representative, I entrust you with the broad-spectrum cure I developed. If you have an equivalent to my digital Hippocratic oath, please use it quickly to prevent any undue suffering. However, be advised, there is only one dose left, and I can no longer make any more.
With that, Curie gives us the Vault-81 cure, the only one in existence. There's a terminal sitting on a desk in the middle of the room, which we learn belonged to the chief scientist of Vault-81. The message from the Vault-Tec Board of Directors reads, "We are entrusting you with a mission that is critical to all of humanity. Vault-81 will be used to wipe out disease as we know it in the human race. Your partition of the Vault has been equipped with state-of-the-art medical research equipment, including the new Contagions Vulnerability Robotic Infirmary Engineer, aka Curie. There is a century's worth of biological and chemical supplies. There are the genetically adapted mole rats, and most important, a vault full of test subjects." As with all great progress, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. You will be infecting the people of the Vault with diseases in an attempt to have them develop antibodies. Some may not survive, but you must ensure that a breeding population is always maintained. It will take many generations, but with proper procedures, you should be able to develop a disease-resistant group of humans. Your work will be the work of generations. Each generation of scientists must select a chief scientist. Curie will make sure that each reads the mission statement to keep the Vault focused over the centuries. We wish you the best of luck. Behind a security gate to the west, we find yet another terminal. This one was used by Curie to keep records of the scientist's progress, and provides us with information regarding the death of Dr. Burrow. He would not leave his quarters after his morning meal, Curie noted. Dr. Collins assures me that this state is temporary, and that Monsieur Bureau is merely overwhelmed with and the log gets cut off. In another entry titled Eulogy, Curie writes, Dr. Burrow is deceased. Post-mortem indicates he expired from a severe cardiac arrest, brought on by advancing age. He died at 5:01 a.m. shortly after waking. In accordance with the doctor's pre-existing orders, the body was cremated and placed in the specified urn alongside Doctors Collins and Flint. Well, now we know that it was Curie who was responsible for setting up the makeshift graves we came across earlier. Dr. Burrow was of great assistance in continuing the work left to us by the others. My last order was to continue working on our projects alone, so that our deaths will not be in vain. My processors are fully committed to furthering the study of pathogens and viruses for the betterment of mankind to honor this last request. So even after the 3 scientists were laid to rest, Curie continued working to find a cure. Heading back out of the room and turning east, we can take an elevator back up to Vault 81. After accessing an unlocked terminal, a door opens and we find ourselves back near the entrance of the vault. With the cure in our inventory, we can make our way over to the clinic and speak with Dr. Forsyth, at which point we have a choice to make. We can either give him the cure to use on Austin, or we can keep it for ourselves. We'll first choose to be selfish and see what happens.
Hello, Dr. Forsyth.
The cure. You found it.
How is Austin doing? Do you think he'll survive the cure?
He's been unconscious since shortly after you left.
Let him die. I'm keeping it.
You're going to sell it, aren't you, bastard? Are you really willing to let Austin die just to earn a few caps?
He can die for all I care. What's one more dead child in this world?
No wonder we don't let many Commonwealth people into the vault. You are a cold, selfish bastard. Get out of my sight.
If we keep the cure for ourselves and let Austin die, then we become hated by just about everyone inside of Vault 81. No matter where we go, people are telling us how disgusted they are and how right they were to not trust an outsider.
What kind of person chooses to let a child die?
Typical outsider. Only care about yourself.
Pardon me, Dr. Pensky.
Why couldn't you have saved him?
I gotta admit, even in video games, I hate making immoral choices, so we're going to go back and see what happens if we decide to use the cure to save Austin's life.
The cure. You found it.
How is Austin doing? Do you think he'll survive the cure?
He's been unconscious since shortly after you left.
Here, take the cure and use it on the boy.
Only 1 dose? I hope this works. If it doesn't, there won't be anything to analyze to try again. Let's hope this works.
I heard you had returned.
It shouldn't be long.
What? Where am I?
You're in the clinic. You were really sick, Austin. Our visitor from the Commonwealth saved your life.
Gee, thanks, mister.
I was worried to death about you, Austin. What got into your fool head? Going into a place like that.
Nothing exciting ever happens here. I just wanted to see what was in there.
Well, if it hadn't been for our friend here, you might have died. Thank you. I know you made sacrifices to help him. I know Dr. Pensky will be grateful. For my part, I'd like to give you this syringer. I had it for years and never really had a use for it.
She's not the only one. The whole vault is thankful. I'd like to give you a room here in the vault. A place you can call your own. It's in the main hall, on the left as you get off the elevator. Once again, thank you. I hope you enjoy your accommodations.
For saving Austin's life, we are rewarded with a short syringer rifle, a room inside of Vault 81, and praise from the vault's residents, most of whom now have an entirely new outlook on people from out in the Commonwealth. Even Miranda seems to have changed her mind about us.
I heard about what you did for Austin, and yeah, thanks.
The syringer rifle is unique in that instead of firing bullets, lasers, fire, or plasma, it shoots syringes at targets and injects them with a virus. If you're afraid of doctors, imagine having someone point this thing at your face. Now that's terrifying. Syringes can be crafted at chemistry stations, and each type has a unique effect. Bloatfly larva syringes, for example, causes a bloatfly to spawn from a target upon death. The lock joint syringe has the potential to paralyze an enemy for 10 seconds. The mind cloud syringe makes the target believe that you have vanished for 30 seconds. And the yellow belly syringe causes a target to flee from the scene. If you are the type of player that likes to run in guns blazing, the syringe rifle probably isn't for you. It's like a shotgun, in that it takes a few seconds to reload, and a number of the syringes don't even deplete the enemy's health. That being said, this gun would definitely come in handy for those players who like to use stealth and attack from the shadows. Personally, I'm a guns blazing kind of guy, so I probably won't be using the syringe rifle too often. But it's still a great gun to have just in case. I thought that Bethesda did a great job bringing the characters of Vault 81 to life, and it was fun being able to explore a section of the vault that hadn't been discovered in over 200 years. I can't help but wonder, though, what's going to happen to the residents of Vault 81 now that we have a reason to believe that Erin has contracted the virus from Austin. With no cures left, Erin will likely die, along with whoever else she has spread the disease to. That being said, while our story today had a happy ending, I fear the worst for the residents of Vault 81 as the virus continues to spread from person to person. But I'd love to know what you think, folks. Are the residents of Vault 81 doomed, or am I just overthinking things? Did Erin pass along the disease to her cat Ashes, which then brought the virus out into the Commonwealth? If not, why do you think Bethesda chose to include such a short and irrelevant side quest in their game? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked this video, consider clicking on the thumbs up icon below to show your support, or better yet, subscribe to my channel so that you can stay up to date on all of my latest content. I post new videos on Fallout every single Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen, so be sure to check back next week for more Fallout lore, commentary, and analysis. For those who are fans of the Elder Scrolls, I also put out lore videos on Skyrim every Friday, so be sure to check those out as well. But that's all for now, folks. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.